the Cardinals can be a playoff team this year. And not only can, I think that there's a good chance that the Cardinals will be a playoff team this year. And let me
Okay,
tell you why. Or
let
actually,
me.
no, you know what?
Yeah, no,
Let me
I'll let you
actually,
go. Why? I will buy this. It's like if you walk into a store and you see something's marked down like 50%, like that's what I feel comfortable buying it now. Maybe it's like a coat in the summer, right? Like I'm willing to buy it now. But when it gets more towards winter, I'm like, oh, I need this coat, and I don't care if it's full price. Like I feel like the Cardinals can really get there. I do with the way they're playing. So I'm willing to buy this on clearance now, but in the future I may buy a full price.
oh, I love it. That was, first of all, that was a great analogy. So let's get into it here, not only for the Cardinals fans, right? But for everybody who's maybe not aware of what's going on down there in Arizona. Okay. So look, again, stick with me, guys. I got a lot of bulleted points here, but let's start off with the first one. Of the 32 teams in the NFL, the Cardinals currently, and again, most of these are not PFF references. I just want to start with the PFF references to get them out of the way. For via PFF, they're 8 of 32 with a 76.3 overall grade. Kyler Murray via PFF is the highest graded QB in football with a 93.2 overall grade. Now let's move over to the offense via NFL. And Hunter, I always forget the name. What's the
NFL
reference?
Pro.
NFL Pro. I got it bookmarked. I always forget the name of the stuff. But NFL Pro, absolutely fantastic database, probably the best in the world right now. Shouts to NFL Pro. But via NFL Pro, right? Offense. Before we move on to defense. So far this season, the Cardinals have passed the ball 57 times and ran it 65 times. They are marrying the pass and the run incredibly well, which we know is the most important thing of having a functioning offense 9 out of 10 times, barring anomaly situations. The Cardinals are averaging 34.5 points per game. I'm aware it's a small sample size, but impressive nonetheless versus the Bills and the Rams. They are averaging 397.5 yards per game, 7th in the NFL. They are averaging 6.2 yards per play, which is 5th in the NFL. They are plus 0.17 EPA per play, which is 3rd in the NFL. They are 7.1 pass yards per play right now, which is 8th in the NFL. 177.5 rushing yards per game, which kind of shocked me. 5th in the NFL. 5.5 rushing yards per play. 5th in the NFL. 3.15 time to throw, seconds to throw, the 2nd in the NFL, right behind the Eagles, which we touched on earlier. Area of concern for this offense, because I wanted to include at least one area of concern on offense and defense. If we're going to be concerned about something on offense, our area of concern is the fact that their QB pressure rate allowed is 32.8%, which is basically 1/3 of every snap, which is 19th in the league. Let's move over to the defense here, Hunter. They are allowing 22 points per game, which is 18th in the league, which is not like concerning to me because let's be clear. The teams that are anywhere from 12 to 18 are like right there, really, really close to each other
Well,
within like 1 or 2 points.
I also think you have to look at the defensive stats with a grain of salt. Like the talent is obviously there on offense. They still have a long way on defense.
Well, absolutely. And I'm very glad you included that because
To be like 18th or like 13th or whatever you're about to get to is like a blessing.
no, absolutely. And it speaks to the fact that Gannon has them bought in, which, you know, what we're going to get to later. But look, yards per game allowed, 298.5, which is 13th in the NFL. Yards per play allowed, 5.4, which is 20th, which, let's be clear, that does need work, right? Like that's an area where we're saying, okay, we got to improve on that, but it's also not dismal. And again, anywhere from 12th to 20th, it's kind of in a very similar range, right? We're still very early in the season. It's very volatile. We still got a lot of time to go to see how that's going to be long term for the season, right? That one's very volatile. But 0.06 EPA per play allowed, which is 18th, which is like right to the point of that that's not bad at all, and that's really it's very average. Again, same thing I just said about the other two. Anywhere 12th to 18th, we're right in that very same range. But passing yards per game allowed, 207th, or 207, my apologies, which is 19th. But again, that's a good number, and that's a very similar range, anywhere from even 10 to 20 right now. You know, teams have kind of there's not a huge discrepancy because we're still in a small sample size. Rushing yards per game allowed, 91.5, which is 9th in the league, which is very impressive, again, considering the personnel they have right now on this D line. This D line, to your point, has very, very long way to go. And if we're talking area of concerns here on defense, look, it's still the pass rush. 18 QB pressures, which is 27th in the league. That is a very low number of QB pressures, even after 2 weeks. But to the point of which we will continue to discuss here now going forward, this D line is very, very far from complete, and they don't even have BJ Ojulari, who you could argue was their best, pressure guy last year, and who had a long way to, still has a long way to develop, a long way to go. But that's all hypothetical considering he's injured now. But just had to throw out that little caveat.
Yeah, I mean, I think my biggest thing with the Cardinals is like they have a long way to go, but they're showing that like they are bought into this coaching staff. And why I do buy the fact that they could make the playoffs is I was pretty high on the Rams and they got routed. And obviously it's a division rival, so that's huge for their, divisional wins. I obviously do think that, the 49ers will probably win that division. But if we want to go to the Arizona Cardinals and take a look at their schedule, obviously they finished pretty bad last year, so they have an easier schedule. Like they have teams like the Commanders on there. Actually, their schedule is not as easy as you'd think, especially in the NFC West. But with that being said, I mean, I do think they're one of those teams that they are going to, I mean, they upset the Cowboys last year. I think it's one of those teams that like any given Sunday, and if you watch our tier rankings, like that's the category they're in, and they maybe moving up depending on how they play this week. It's just one of those teams where it's like, I don't care about the record. I would not want to play the Arizona Cardinals. Like this is a team that if you see on your schedule, like we have to give everything we get. We cannot look at what their talent is. We cannot look at what their record is. Like this is a team that will beat you if you allow them to get any type of footing on you.
No, absolutely. That I couldn't have said better myself. You had me smiling there because, it really is. Look, the bottom line is you don't want to be seeing the Cardinals right now. I think the Cardinals are, they're like the boxer. You just don't know what to expect. They come out with a different game plan every single match. You don't know expecting haymakers. Do you expect jabs? What are they coming with? That's how the Cardinals feel right now. And, to move over to kind of what I'm liking, what I love, what I'm seeing right now. Let's talk about why the Cardinals are operating the way they are and what they can continue to build on going forward. So for starters here, look, this O-line, hand up, two hands up, playing way better than we expected, right? I think I can speak for both of us on that one. Paris Johnson
I think another thing I want to say, Dobbs, is like Kyler Murray is playing a lot better than expected. He's third in EPA per dropback and first in EPA. He's also seventh in completion percentage over expected. So he is playing like very, very good football. And this is the football that we knew Kyler Murray could play that a lot of people forgot about.
No, yeah. And save the Call of Duty jokes in the comments. I can already hear him coming. Look, no, Kyler's, I think the injury,
he's locked in, dude.
It's a new Kyler out there. You can see it in his eyes. You can hear it in the way that the interviews were this offseason. He's done with that. Kyler said, you know what? I got caught in the offseason. This is about legacy. And it really does feel like a completely different Kyler Murray now. And look, to the man's credit, look, we've witnessed Kyler grow from a kid. We're witnessing him grow from a kid into a man. And nobody wanted to give him that time. But look, Kyler Murray is still as a young man, still growing to his own. I think we're seeing Kyler mature a lot. And we're seeing what happens when you're seeing a quarterback with all the talent mature with the emotions around the talent. But anyways, that's another tangent. Let's move back into this O-line group here, Hunter. Look, Paris Johnson, humongous jump. I mean, we talk about all the time how there's always those linemen. I don't mean to do this to you, but I'm going with this one. Look, Darnell Wright's a good example where you're like, okay, the rookie year, right? Like we saw what we wanted to see from the rookie year, but then we need that big jump that second year. Normally that big jump that second year is going to tell you a lot about the O-lineman, right? Oh, Andrew Thomas is a great example over there. Again, from another guy who's like Paris Johnson, where you're like, okay, right? Like you saw some stuff rookie year and we're concerned, but then bam, that's that second year. And now all of a sudden they look like exactly what we wanted them to be. And they're going to keep getting better and stronger and bigger, right? That's exactly what Paris Johnson is right now for the Cardinals. We move over to the left guard situation. Look, Evan Brown, been in the league for a while. He has certainly never been playing better football than he's playing right now for the Cardinals. We'll move over here also to, and I'm sorry, I struggle to pronounce the man's name, but Hjalte Fralt, I believe, right? Center, not playing good ball necessarily, but he's playing serviceable ball. And if anything, if the weak link of your line is the center who's playing solid to below average ball, it's not the worst thing in the world because then we're going to move over to the rest of the team here. Look, we got Will Hernandez who's playing probably arguably the best ball of his career this year, right? Will Hernandez is playing good ball over there. And then, right, I'm aware also, right, the right tackle situation, Beachum. Okay, look, I'm going to say Beachum's not playing that good.
But to get that from a backup tackle is not the worst thing in the world.
No, well, exactly. And I was going to say, look, again, it's not the long-term solution as we're fully aware of. So we move over to Trey McBride. We know about my boy McBride. Look, I said McBride is going to be one of the best tight ends in the league for a long time. He's going to be. But now all of a sudden he's in an offense where they're moving the ball to everybody. And if you're a Cardinals fan, that's amazing. It's perfectly fine that if somebody went from being super, super targeted because everything was just jammed their way because nobody else was doing their job to all of a sudden, well, he still is the same player with the same skill set. We just don't have to look his way every single snap because everybody else is doing their job and getting open and the scheme is working, which is exactly what you're witnessing right now from the Cardinals. And then over here, right, I get it. Look, from the point of Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch are not the most exciting options in the world. But you know my thing, Hunter? Weapons don't matter that much when the scheme is working. And when you got a guy like Marv over there, it doesn't. Marv is the alpha of this team, and he will always be the alpha of this team going forward. And when you got one guy that's even the alpha, everyone else has just got to do their job. Everything is going to do as everything's going to do, and that's exactly what the Cardinals offense is right now. James Conner, still productive back. Trey Benson is going to be this team's future back going forward in a couple years. But as of right now, it doesn't matter because James Conner is still playing good ball, and he doesn't, and Benson does not have to be the starter for this team. We move over to the defense. Dennis Gardeck's playing the best ball of his career right so far. I think we could say that. Maybe I would say, I don't know. I mean, 2020 was a really good year from Gardeck. But with that being said, that was a while ago, and this is the best ball he's played in a long time since 2020, which, again, we're talking about 4 years now, 4 or 5 years. So, and then also, Zaven Collins playing good again with the position change. He played good last year, still playing good this year. You love to see if you're a Cardinals fan. The one that I really want to talk about, though, probably the biggest surprise we could all agree on, Roy Lopez breaking out this year. Look, Roy Lopez was kind of one of those guys who just rotating. You're like, I don't know, is Roy Lopez even going to end up getting a second contract? Well, look, as far as run defense goes, Roy Lopez is still not the best run defender in the world, and he has a long way to go in that department. But as a pass rusher, Roy Lopez all of a sudden looks like one of the best pass rushing interiors in the entire league, and he's making a ton of impact on that Cardinals interior. And you could throw him out there on third down, he's wrecking the game for opposing O-lines. And so with all that said, yeah, the secondary still has a lot of work to be done. It's not the greatest secondary in the world, but they're not playing bad ball either, right? Like, they're not playing bad ball. There's a lot of work to be done, but they're far from the worst unit in the league. You still got Buda Baker out there, right? Green light and everything for everyone else. Buda is going to have everyone in the right spot for the most part. And look, call it for what it is, the linebacking situation. It's very, very black and white right now because Mac Wilson is playing very good ball for the Cardinals. But then over here, and again, he's not out there all the time either. It's not, he's kind of, it depends on the personnel that the Cardinals throw out there. Look, the problem then to me is, right, Kaiser White, who's out there way more than Mac. Kaiser White, call for what it is. Kaiser White's playing really bad ball this year, and actually via PFF is actually the lowest graded linebacker in the entire league with a 28.4. Granted, it has been 2 weeks, but what concerns me about that, right, if we're talking area of concern, is that he's been in Gannon's system before, and he's coming back to Gannon's system, and we're looking really bad this year. But that's one guy out of the other 10 guys we just talked about on defense. And yeah, like I said, the secondary situation is far from being elite. There's a lot of work to be done in the secondary. But from what we expected from the D-line and what we're seeing, you got 3 of 5 guys that are playing really good ball in your starting rotation. And the defense we know has a long way to go, which is what we just touched on. And Gannon is leading this defense. And we know what Gannon did with the Eagles defense. I know about the Super Bowl, Andy Reid masterclass. We're forgetting about that. We're moving forward. Gannon has these boys bought in. He has them fighting. Hunter, I think he has fire loaded into their gut.
He has so much fire in their gut, Dobbs. But I think to wrap it up, we are both kind of buying that the Cardinals may be a playoff team in 2024.
We're leasing. We're leasing it.
Rent to own.
Yeah, exactly. We can opt out. Hey, look. I'm going to be moving states. You got to take that one back. But as of right now, Hunter, the down payment we at least threw down.
Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, if you don't know ball and want to know ball, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, let us know in the comments if you're buying or selling that the Cardinals will make the playoffs this year.